Today's webinar focuses on law firm marketing systems and how the traditional Rainmaker model in law firm business development is evolving into a more system-based approach that everybody in the firm can participate in. The goal is to show how a system-based approach to marketing in law firms can be beneficial for law firms in the long run, whether that involves transitions of retiring equity partners who have been rainmakers in the firm, or whether it's a younger firm that uses just a new approach to marketing their services with a different model that is, again, more based on team-based collaboration rather than individual rainmaking originators. The presentation will be split into three areas. We'll talk about the problem, meaning what is changing in the law firm environment and why is it important to think more systematically about marketing moving forward, and then present that system as the solution to the issue of diminishing returns on individual originators and the benefits of having a more collaborative system. And then ultimately, we will go into the details of a marketing system, how it can be built out, and what is required to maintain it. The problem that we see in business development efforts in law firms is that often the marketing approach is too narrow. That means originations are typically concentrated on a few rainmakers, maybe 10 to 20% of the lawyers in the firm. Associates have a very limited contribution to those originations, which over time leads to stagnant growth. It limits the firm brand strength, especially when there's only a few key individuals that are ultimately constituting the strength of the brand. And when those individuals approach retirement, then client retention becomes a lot more difficult if the reputation of the firm is tied to those individuals rather than the firm as a whole. To combat this growing challenge, we propose a marketing system that benefits everyone. Now, what does that entail? First and foremost, it requires the creation of a strategy, a marketing strategy that ultimately tells you what you are trying to do and how you achieve it. Then, on a more specific level, it's really important to clarify the brand message. Ultimately, that is the message that you will try to communicate to your clients so they understand the problems you solve and why it's beneficial for them to work with your firm. Then the next step is fixing the website so that it generates the attention and interest it deserves and ultimately helps law firms turn prospects into clients. The next step is to select a marketing automation software to make the whole process of marketing easier, to allow people to collaborate on marketing efforts and make sure that the contacts you collect ultimately move from prospects to clients. And lastly, it's really important to put a whole team into this and make sure that everybody contributes. That would include potentially marketing specialists, but it also includes outside agencies, consultants, and most importantly, the attorneys that will help contribute to the different marketing activities the firm will ultimately implement. To sum it up, a system-based marketing approach entails a clearly defined strategy, a strong website, a capable marketing and CRM or client relationship management software, a team that contributes to this new marketing system in a way that it can function, that'll work effectively and efficiently, and ultimately a structure that clearly shows the responsibilities and duties of every participant. So let's dive into each of these areas. First, the strategy. What we're trying to achieve here is to build out a strategy map that reflects the following components. We need to identify the competitive factors. So those are the factors that your clients care about and evaluate when they make a decision as to which law firm they will ultimately go with. We need well-defined goals and measurable objectives to ensure that we have a vision in mind and we can hold ourselves accountable by measuring our performance, our marketing performance against these goals and objectives. And then lastly, we need to define the marketing methods we will actually apply, whether that is more digital or more in-person marketing. Just depends on the marketing mix you ultimately want to go with, but this should be clearly defined as well. Next, we'll focus on the clients. One component here would be to define buyer personas or client descriptions that ultimately show the characteristics of your clients, who they are, and what they need from your firm, what help they need, and why they would go with your firm. Another way to describe this is to use a brand script. This would describe more specifically the client journey. What's the problem they have? How can you help them? And why would they approach you and ultimately work with you to solve their problem? Once the strategy is defined, we will move into web development. The first step would be to wireframe the website. If you already have a website in place, this would merely mean editing or revising the website. If it's a new website, certainly would be built from the ground up. Now, the wireframe mostly comes from the brand scripts where we explain who the client is, what their problems are, and how you can be their guide to overcome that problem that will ultimately lead to their success and avoid failure. Now, this information we will turn into copy for the website. And once that copy is put together, a web developer would be chosen to help put that copy together with the right graphics, the right visualization onto the website and bring it to life. And then lastly, the key component here would be to manage that project of putting the website together with intent and making sure that the web developer follows along according to the wireframe and the vision that you set for the website and follows certainly the strategy you put together in the first step. Once the website is put together, the next step will be focusing on the right software to drive and support your system. Now here we would look at marketing and client relationship management software. There's a variety of softwares out there. Most of them are cloud-based that are very capable of putting a system to life by offering the right tools, especially for digital marketing, but also for contact and client relationship management to ensure that everybody can contribute to the system and that will ultimately become an effective and efficient machine to develop new business. So ultimately in the software, you would store and maintain your contacts. You would manage your entire digital marketing efforts within the software system. So whether that is blogging or emailing, social media, digital advertising, you name it, pretty much any marketing activity can be handled within the software. Typically, a website can be hosted on here too, and ultimately, all of these tools will lead to a very deep analytics suite that allow you to analyze the marketing system's performance on a very advanced level. Next up is the team development. Now we need to put together the roles and responsibilities for every participant in the system. Ideally, the firm puts together a marketing management team or committee responsible for the internal oversight of the system. Then the system itself, especially the marketing software, needs to be administered and maintained. So for this, we typically suggest law firms either training or bringing in an in-house marketing specialist. And if that's not available, then use an outside support agency that can essentially manage the whole system. It would then just require one person in the firm to become the main contact for that agency to make sure that their engagement works efficiently. Outside agencies and consultants are typically responsible for coaching the firm's team. They can also do and take over the website development. They can actually take on the entire marketing for the firm if that's necessary, but still, they do need some direction, and that is where the firm's marketing management team and the strategy come into play. Next are the attorneys. Now, in small to mid-sized law firms, we suggest having all attorneys contribute to the marketing system in one way or another. Now, this could be through performa activity plans for younger associates so they know what marketing contributions are expected from them, or it could be a customized individual plan for those who want to put more effort in and are highly motivated to build their own reputation through participation in the marketing system. And then lastly, to make sure all of this works smoothly together, we suggest putting together some policies for participation, expectations from attorneys, and policies for collaboration so that more experienced attorneys can help mentor and train some of the younger associates so they get up to speed as far as effective marketing, participation, and contribution is concerned. Ultimately, the marketing system structure would then consist of marketing activities. So that could be firm and individual activities that attorneys are responsible for, digital, relationship building, in person activities, you name it, all of these activities would be falling into this category. Then we have a support system that consists of the firm marketing management, a marketing software administrator, the attorneys, of course, who participate in the system, external support through web developers and marketing agencies, and of course, the software or tool support through a CRM and marketing software. And then lastly, we have our policy structure for participation in the marketing system, approving marketing budgets, expectations for team collaboration, firm support, and tracking and keeping track of activities. We would also like to bring your attention to a few considerations as you put this system in place. First of all, there are lots of moving parts and pieces, so it is of utmost importance to have a proper strategy in place that will guide all the marketing activities and participants, and to have internal marketing management to oversee and ensure the participants do their job right. Then there is a significant time and dollar investment. So putting a project plan in place to not only implement the system, but also maintain it and making sure that people will participate down the road to get the right of return on investment is important as well. Now, the system management, again, is clearly one of the key things to ensure that the marketing software will pay off. And so to have an administrator in place that will be familiar with the software, that can also be the contact between the firm and an outside agency, is another critical aspect. And then developing marketing knowledge is not an easy, quick process. This will take time. And so giving associates incentives and also partners incentives to learn to contribute to marketing, to learn how to write articles, for example, and to help each other out is a clearly critical aspect as well. And of course, it is a team effort after all. This system won't work if there's only 2 or 3 people that drive all the activities. This will require everybody to make their proper contributions and ensure that ultimately all the tools that a marketing software can provide are adequately in use. Besides these considerations, there are certainly some pitfalls that will lead to the system failure. First of all, not having a strategy or no direction and just tactical elements, just putting an agency in place, for example, and letting them do your content without giving them any direction is not going to lead to returns. Not having a coherent marketing message in place across the board, across all activities, across digital as well as in-person marketing efforts is another critical element. This needs to be predefined and it needs to be consistent. Vendors who don't see the complete picture. If you don't bring in an agency and tell them, here's our strategy, here's what we want to achieve, and here's how you can contribute to this, they will cost a lot of money and not get you the returns you desire. And patience and early resignation. This is a long-term effort and it will have a long-term payoff, but in the short run, it requires that people stay consistent with their efforts and their contributions. And lastly, of course, limited participation. Again, if there's only 2 or 3 people that drive the system while everybody else is focusing on other things, then this marketing system is likely not going to work out. So in the end, we want to leave you with a few must-haves to ensure that the marketing system will be a success. A marketing strategy and clear brand message. A tactical action plan with assigned responsibilities for each participant in the system. Clear expectations for in-house and outsourced roles. A marketing budget that is defined each year. A capable marketing and CRM software, and a person to manage and maintain that system. And lastly, analytics and reports to measure and evaluate your marketing activities and give you sufficient information to make decisions on adjustment of activities or to determine that the system actually is working out well. In the end, we hope that you found this presentation helpful and a good explanation as to how you can free your firm from over-reliance on a few key rainmakers in the firm and move to a system-based marketing approach that'll pay off in the long run and help you remain competitive in the future.